What's up, witches? You're listening to the Bewitching Hour. I'm your host, Kat, and I'll be dropping exciting episodes covering everything from the history of witchcraft, aliens, the paranormal, ghost stories, and I'm excited to have guests on who have a story to tell, as well as share my experiences and perspective on living life as a modern-day witch. Grab your brooms, because it's about to get real. Welcome back to the Bewitching Hour. I hope everyone is staying grounded and happy and present during this retrograde, and with the whole post-eclipse, full moon energy kind of residuals. It's just been a lot. It's turned me into an emotional hermit for the last couple weeks, and when I say emotional, I truly mean emotional. I mean, just this morning, I lost my shit over an Etsy commercial, so that's where I'm at. Yay. I'm not doing a card pull this week because my next guest is actually an expert at it. I don't want to outshine her, not that I ever could. She does the card pull for me at the end of this episode, but I also feel like it could apply to anybody listening. So if anything resonates with you, feel free to shoot me a DM. I would be curious. I actually have Brittany Leigh of Brittany Leigh Tarot joining the Bewitching Hour this episode. For those of you who don't know Brittany Leigh, first of all, why? Second, you're welcome, because you get to know her actually quite a bit this episode. Brittany was such an amazing guest, and I feel like I learned so much from her, and my hope is that you all finish this episode feeling so enlightened, and like you just had girl talk with your best friends. Like I said, she's a professional tarot card reader and psychic medium. She's done thousands of readings, including celebrity readings, and she's even been on Lance Bass, of all people's podcasts. Like, I'm saying goals, okay? This is also her birthday week, so happy birthday, Brittany. I'm so sorry this is belated, but, this is still coming out during your birthday week. I hope it's everything you hoped for. I'm just so grateful that she was kind enough to give the Bewitching Hour a chance. And honestly, what perfect timing, because I don't know if you guys know this. I don't know why you wouldn't know this. You probably should. But the bodies of 215 Indigenous children were found at a residential school in Canada. I think they said the youngest was around 3 years old, which is just horrifying, so sad. But Brittany actually has a really interesting story about how she connected with the Native American side of herself. She's very passionate about it. I loved talking to her about all things Native American. I just loved getting her perspective on living life as a Native American in modern day when there's still so much hate, surrounding that community, that race of people. You'll see what I mean when you hear her start talking about it. It's amazing. This is actually going to be my longest episode yet, so I'm just going to get my announcements out of the way. I don't have a ton to update on, but I just want to announce some exciting guests coming up. I do have Eric the Ghost Hunter coming back on with some exciting news. We're actually working on some really fun things together. He's going to do a recap of his ghost hunt at the Waverly Hills Sanatorium in Kentucky. I have my friend Marcus, who is also a movie producer, director, actor, artist, all of the above. He's going to be coming on to talk all things horror movies. Caitlin of Stay Witchy is coming back on. You guys know and love her. And drumroll, I can't do a drumroll, but you get the point. My mom is coming on to talk aliens with me, because she was in the Air Force, and now that she's retired and can talk about it, she's got a few crazy alien stories to share. And of course, we're going to be telling family ghost stories, because how could we not? We have so many. I can't wait to record and release these episodes, and I'm actually having so much fun with this, with the whole meeting new people thing and getting to know my guests and such, and I just love the whole connection aspect of it. I think that's like my favorite part about doing this whole podcasting thing. My next announcement: the Bewitching Hour t-shirts are finally in production, and so are stickers. I should have a shop up soon. Still trying to research how to do all of that. I'm giving myself the goal of a month, but if you guys want to pre-order t-shirts or stickers, just DM me. I'll get you hooked up. No worries. Also, if you guys know of any small businesses or artists or other podcasts that would be down for some cross-promotion or collaborations, let me know. I'm really trying to get the word out there and would love to support another creative that is in my situation as well. I just think that it's so important to have each other's backs if you're going to be on this creative wavelength with each other. Also, last thing, I did turn on the listener support option for this podcast. If you go to anchor.fm/the Bewitching Hour, you can actually donate to this podcast. So that can help me fund merchandise, fund certain guests coming up, things like that. I've been doing everything out of pocket. I don't mind it, but also wouldn't hate a donation. But I will say specifically for this episode, I'm going to give it a week. Any donations I receive, 100% of the proceeds will go to MMIW. And I'm going to let Brittany explain what that is. She talks about it later in this episode, so keep an ear out for that as well. Go donate. I would really appreciate it. If you don't have the funds to donate, I totally understand. No amount is too little. Go leave me a review. That's what you can do. You can go to Apple Podcasts, leave me a 5-star review, and I would seriously appreciate it. I also turned on the option to leave voice messages. So same link, the anchor.fm link. You can actually record a voice message for me. So if you have questions or want to tell a story, ghost story, alien story, paranormal, whatever you want to talk about, I can actually incorporate your audio into my episodes. So I think that would be really cool. So if you're interested in that, go check that out as well. That's about it for the updates. Thank you guys so much for listening. And here's Brittany Leigh of Brittany Leigh Tarot. Okay, so introduce yourself. I always ask my guests to introduce themselves, kind of give us a backstory of who you are, you know, maybe just like the Cliff's Notes of Brittany's life from A to current.
Okay, cool. Well, my name is Brittany Leigh. My business name is Brittany Leigh Tarot. I'm a professional psychic medium and tarot card reader, which whatever label you want to throw on me, here in Los Angeles. And I've been in business doing this since 2018, but I've been seeing spirits and, you know, studying the occult and witchcraft since I was a child. So it's just in my blood at this point. But yeah, I think that's a little cliff note. I'm living in Los Angeles. I was born and raised in the South in Pensacola, Florida, and I've been in LA for 10 years now. So
how is the energy in LA different from Florida? Because I've only been to California one time. Did not go to LA. I went to like Newport Beach area. But Florida, I'm completely obsessed.
You know, the difference is for me, I would say that Pensacola, Florida is heavy. It's a heavy energy. The Spanish War took place there, and it is sandwiched in between New Orleans and Panama City Beach. It is on the Panhandle. So it's basically lower Alabama and, you know, 2.5, 3-hour drive to New Orleans, which I did live in New Orleans for a little bit. In fact, I got my first tarot reading in New Orleans, my first tarot deck in New Orleans. But the energy is just heavy. It's beautiful, the beach, but like you can feel the oppression in the air still. And if anybody's been to New Orleans, they know that energy in which I speak of.
Fully. Yes.
And it's just heavier. And so California and Southern California, because I'm not well versed in Northern California, although I've been to San Francisco a few times, but I'm traveling more up the coast as of late, as I'm getting older. But yeah, I love Southern California. Los Angeles in general is very, very magical. And I think a lot of times people forget that. You can feel the magic in the air. There's tons of people at all times doing ritualistic magic. And I can feel that in the air. And the land that we stand on is very ancient and just, again, I can't get away from the words magical, as redundant as it is, but it really, truly is this magnetic vibration. And I feel like a lot of parallel consciousnesses, if you will, and realms, and they come through this land. I don't know if it's a meridian point or it's just something about LA where it's like you can access different energies and consciousnesses. And I always have dreams of like portals being hidden in this city, and I felt them outside of the dream realm, but like they go to New Orleans and they go to San Francisco and New York and Egypt, and I haven't quite put my finger on it to articulate exactly what that is, if that makes any sense. But this land is awesome, and I think people forget too, where it's like in one day in LA you can be like, well, do I want to ski? Do I want to go to the desert? Do I want to go to the beach? Do I want to hike mountains? And you can do it all in one day. Can access that energy in those lands, and I think that that's really fucking cool. And to be so, and I don't know if I can cuss. I do cuss a lot, but I can dial it back.
Absolutely, cuss all you fucking want.
I'm like, it's passion, baby.
Exactly.
But yeah, like Joshua Tree is really close by, and there's a lot of terrestrial energies there. And so like I've experienced, aliens like walking in the desert in Joshua Tree, and that's only a couple hours away. And then like only a couple hours away from that is like Big Bear. And then like I want to still go to Mount Shasta. I haven't gone, but apparently that's a lot of like paranormal and aliens. And it's just, anyway, California is amazing. Southern California is amazing. And damn, is it just like wild to live here. Wind in Gemini. And by the way, my Mercury, Sun, Mars, and Chiron are in Gemini. So if I ramble, that's why.
I have so many things to say. Okay, first of all, love the word magical. It's just a great fucking word.
It is. And I don't care how overused it is, damn it.
Right. Like, it is not like the Disney magical. It's like the hocus pocus, like Halloween feeling, autumn vibes type of magical that I like crave. You know what I mean?
Right. And I always put a K at the end of it because that's the magic I'm talking about.
I've had my chart read, like, my planets and all that. I do not remember it, but I know that I'm like Leo, Cancer, Libra.
Oh, it's beautiful. That's beautiful. That's close to me, like in your big three, right? Your sun, your moon, your rising.
Exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I'm Gemini sun, Leo rising, and Scorpio moon. So we're kind of the same.
I love that.
Yeah.
And, I feel like people like us that are very intuitive and open to receiving, if you will, I feel like we're all kind of on similar paths, I guess, planetary wise, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. I've
met a lot of people that, share this gift or ability or whatever you want to call it, that have like very similar charts as I do.
Yes, I've noticed that too. I really vibe with Scorpio placements and Gemini placements a lot in my life. They're some of my most favorite people. And I don't try to like astrology shame anybody. In fact, I do have a witch group on Facebook that's one of the main rules. It's like, you're not allowed to shame like zodiac signs. I mean, everybody can take a joke, and we all have the discernment when someone's joking, and I love to roast myself. But like the hate for Gemini and Scorpio placements is wild. I'm like, we're in the 21st century. We are some of the most creative, thought-provoking truth speakers. Scorpio placements are extremely psychic. So anyway, I love those guys. I love myself.
Why does everyone shit on Leos? Like, what is wrong with Leo?
They do. I was about to say fire
my
signs
God.
too are starting to get a little, I know. I don't know why. Maybe because, unhealed, shadowy aspects of it can be, dominating and controlling, but there's shadow sides to every sign. It depends on if you're healing or healed parts of yourselves. I think a lot of times people just attribute it to somebody that like fucked them over, and then that's their like they run with that forever. But
true.
damn.
It's like when somebody with the same name as like some asshole, you're like, oh, I hate that person because their name whatever.
Oh yeah, imagine being named Brittany. Always like Britney Spears, which I love Britney Spears, but damn, like I don't know if Britney's getting a bad rep or not, but I know, leave Britney alone, damn it. Help her already, damn it. Sorry, I'm such a general older conversation, but
no,
yeah,
you're totally fine. So Leos, I'm a full-blown Leo, and I'm so tired of hearing the word dramatic. I'm like, okay, you know what? Call it what you will. I don't think I'm dramatic. I think I'm fucking passionate. And when I like care about something or I'm upset about something, it's because I'm feeling the fucking most. That does not make me a dramatic person.
Not at all. I don't even take that as an insult anymore when people say that about me. And I'm like, I've made money off of being dramatic. Thank you. That's another reason why I moved to Southern California. Drama is, it's out there. Yeah. It depends on what you do with it. Oh, I love drama and passion. So, and when I say drama, I don't mean like gossip.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's
like a flair for the dramatics.
Right. Like flamboyance. I like to say that I'm very flamboyant. That is like my adjective about myself.
And what's wrong with that? And by the way, Leos always have like the best head of hair.
Oh, well, girl, I'm suffering right now. But it's okay.
Oh.
It's fine. It just won't grow. But I also have thyroid problems. That's a whole other, like, not even going to go there anyway.
I hope that you get better soon. What do you say to that? I'm so sorry. That
no,
didn't even sound right.
I know. Soon. Hi. have you met me? I'm Kat. I'm super fucking awkward. I'm gonna tell you like the worst things about me upon meeting, and you're just gonna be like, oh my God, I can never talk to her again.
Well, I think you're awesome, and I always say awkward things.
God, I'm the worst at it though, honestly. Oh yeah. I mean, I was just hanging out with like my best friend's parents like 2 weeks ago, and they're both like ex-felons. And we were talking about My Favorite Murder and how they were like doing an episode or whatever where somebody had written in about some girl's mom fell in love with a guy that was in prison. And I was like, see you guys, it's because bitches love prison dudes. And I was like, oh, because they were sitting right across from me.
Oh my God.
Her ex-felon parents. I was like, oh, okay, well, no, they were totally fine about it.
They had a good sense of humor.
Yeah. Anyway, I digress. Okay, so back to New Orleans. So when did you live in New Orleans?
Oh, it was post Katrina, and it was brief. So without aging myself here on your podcast, but again, post Katrina. So it was, in between 2005 and 8, somewhere in that period. New Orleans is a different vibe post Katrina. Like pre Katrina, New Orleans was a whole different vibration. And sometimes that makes sense to people.
My dad's entire family is from New Orleans. Like my grandparents are both from there, went to school there, lived there, So every time I'm there, like you said, it is a very different, like kind of heavier energy. But I find New Orleans super fucking magical because I feel my grandma everywhere.
Oh, I love that city with my whole heart and soul.
Yeah. Like just knowing that I'm walking the same streets that she once walked, like when she was alive, like that just, I don't know. I like get goosebumps even just talking about it,
Yeah, it's amazing. I love that city. I lived in Uptown, so I was in Garden District. Oh, the Garden District. My goodness, just a few blocks away from Anne Rice's house. And I just love that city. I learned so much there.
Interview with the Vampire, Anne Rice?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I didn't know her house was there.
Yeah, she had a house there, like right around Magazine Street.
Oh my God. That's amazing. Okay, so Ashley Longshore has an art gallery on Magazine, and then Sheena Menina, who has been on this podcast, has a juice bar there. So like, what a fucking full circle.
Totally. And now I'm like second guessing myself. Like, I hope I'm right. I'm pretty sure I'm right on that one. I think it's right around the corner, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry, guys. But yeah, I love Magazine Street, that whole area. I mean, all of New Orleans, every pocket has a different energy. I was just there. Well, I say just there, but not really. But it was in 2019, at the end of 2019 for Voodoo Fest. And I was there for a while and I had so much fun.
It's like an 8-hour drive from me. I'm dying to go back. I haven't been in like 2 years.
You should go.
I know.
You should go soon. Whenever it calls. And it does call pretty hard, like when you get the pull to New Orleans, you just gotta go. Magic. Pure magic.
Just to kind of get more insight on your abilities, you said you have seen spirit since you were like basically a fetus, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Can you remember like the first time that it ever really stuck out in your mind and you were like, oh my God, this is like a ghost or spirit or...
Well, I answer this question often on podcasts, and I always talk about, there's this memory of me when I was 5 years old, and in my closet, I would see a shadowy figure. So still to this day, I have to have my closet door shut. But as you asked, totally. And right as you asked that question, and I thought about it before, and I've asked my mom about it, but I have a memory of me being in my crib and a spirit grabbing me out of my crib and placing me when I couldn't even walk yet in the center of my nursery floor. And my mom swears up and down that she has no recollection of this, but it's extremely strong for me. And I was in my crib and I couldn't walk, but that's my first memory. But the one that I feel very strongly about, and like solid is more of a word for this, is the closet monster when I was like 5. And that's when my parents were like, yeah, it's a ghost, no big deal, go back to bed. And I'm like, a ghost? I didn't even know about death. I didn't know that people could die. I didn't know that people had a spirit. I think I knew about God at that point, or source, but at the time, God, my parents are Christian. Maybe that's what they had told me about, but then they had to set me down. And that is how I ended up with my first religion discussion, my first discussion on dying and death was at 5 because I was seeing spirits in my closet.
Holy shit.
Totally.
Welcome to childhood.
Yeah, very much. It's been very serious from, leaving the womb. So yeah, it's been a part of my whole life. And then my grandmother on my mom's side, always told me stories about people in our family seeing ghosts and her place being haunted. And, her house ended up on a paranormal show.
What?
And it's been on it twice. Yeah. And this, little small town in Ohio. So they always talk about my grandmother, but my grandmother was the first one to tell me about ghost sex. She was the first one to tell me that, it was like 4th generation mediums, which nobody in my family worked as a professional medium except me, but they still see them and talk to them and have sex with them in my family. And I
actually asked one of my previous guests about ghost sex because this was something that is new to me. We don't, or at least the collective opinion between he and I was that we don't understand how it works, because I feel that you have to have a body. And this is me being completely ignorant to that kind of situation. It's never happened to me before. I've only heard stories. I just want to know what the hell that looks like.
Well, I have talked about it so much. So if you Google Brittany Leigh tarot, the first 3 or 4 pages of Google are me talking about ghosts on celebrity podcasts. That's just my thing. I don't know where the hell that came from. Why is that my thing? But it is, because I've done it several times, more than several times. But I'm not the first. I always say that. I remember as a kid, reading about Anna Nicole Smith talking about ghost sex.
Yes.
And
okay.
Kesha has a song about ghost sex. And so it's a real ass thing. There's also ghost marriages, which I had no information about until about a couple years ago when I was auditioning for a show.
Haven't you seen the documentary The Corpse Bride by Tim Burton?
No, I haven't.
It's not a documentary. It's totally a cartoon. I was totally kidding.
Oh yeah. I was like, did they, you know what I was thinking when you said that? I was like, did they finally admit that was an actual story that they
wow. I was trying to be funny. It didn't land. I'm so sorry.
Oh my God. That's okay. It's okay. I'm just serious right now. It's so funny. In my mind, I'm like, did they come out and say it was a real story? Lord. Ugh.
No, but somebody needs to make a documentary for real.
For real. No, actually it was a really good one. Sometimes it's just I'm late to the party. But yeah, it's a real thing. It's a real ass thing. I don't know how to describe it except sleep paralysis. I feel spirits touching me all the time. TikTok recently, there was this person that went viral talking about a spirit smacked them on the ass or grabbed their ass. And I just laughed. I was like, they can fuck you too. You know what I mean? I'm like, if they can slap you on the ass and they can move objects, they can pull your hair, they can pull off your undies. And I don't know about spirit penis per se, but I have felt after ghost sex that I have been penetrated. I have had bruises on my inner thighs. I have felt parts of my body have been bitten. And that has always been the determining factor to me that something did occur. Because usually I'm I'll psych myself out that I just made it up or I was dreaming. But
what bothers me about that is that no way is that consensual, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can consent to it, but
I'm sure you
really
could, but in your instance, waking up with this stuff.
Yeah. And I don't, in every, podcast I've been on talking about it, I tell people, please don't go and do this. Don't try this at home unless you have done the research. If you feel just with any type of astral traveling or hell, any spell crafting, doing witchcraft and divination in general, you have to be grounded and protected. And it's not for the faint of heart. And I don't do it as often as I talk about it. Yeah, it's an interesting topic.
I know. I feel like we could talk about this forever.
And it's totally okay if you don't believe in it too. That's okay.
I think it's super interesting. I'm fascinated.
Yeah, there's pictures that people have too. It looks like, an aura. I've seen shadowy figures. There was this one show, or maybe it was a podcast, who knows, but this woman talked about having a spirit lover after she stole a headstone from a cemetery, like on a dare, and then ended up falling in love with that spirit. Just wild stories. And then, like I said, I was casting for this show that's supposed to come out. I don't know what happened because then COVID occurred, but they were talking to, professional mediums. And I was in a room full of people with PhDs and books, authors of books. And, I felt a little out of my element for once in my life, and not having all the information on ghost sex and the paranormal in the room for once. And anyway, they're like, yeah, we've attended, weddings of people marrying spirits. What I talked about seemed no big deal to them. It was nothing. There's like, yeah, who cares? Ghost sex, please. Have you ever been to a ghost marriage, a wedding? And I was like, no. It was just, there's so many things. Of course, we're constantly students in this life and in spirituality. So I learn stuff all the time.
No, absolutely. But also at the same time, if anybody is listening to this and is trying to get married to a ghost, like, please, can I be the flower girl? Because I'm so interested.
Same. I just want to, I don't know. And definitely, I don't want to take up any more time on this if you don't, but did you ever read about that story about the woman like marrying like this 500-year-old, I don't know if it's that many years, don't quote me on that, pirate?
He was a ghost pirate. Yes.
Yes. And then did you read the update that they got a divorce in COVID?
Wow. Well, thoughts and prayers are with that couple for sure. I can't imagine what it's like going through like, a human divorce, but as a spirit.
I haven't done a lot of research about pirate, but
it is only my place to observe and not to judge. Can I laugh at things? You're goddamn right. Sorry.
That should be on a shirt.
Right? I love it. Okay, so let's talk about tarot. This is not a subject that I am, super read into. I definitely do oracle readings, but I work with like the kinds of decks that are like, messages from, goddesses or your angels or your spirit animal, things like that. But tarot is not something that I'm like ready to touch yet. How did you figure out? It just seems so complicated. Like, explain all this to me, please.
Well, when I first got my deck when I was a teenager, I put it away for a couple of years and I would pull it back out and pull it away, take it back out, up until 2018, I was still paranoid and grabbing an instruction book and, feeling like I would never be able to know what the cards meant and you get overwhelmed. But yeah, it sometimes could be a tug of war with it. And sometimes it's not for everyone, and that's okay too. Some people prefer oracle versus tarot, and it is good to have a mentor and study under somebody. That's very helpful, and I feel like I'm always learning new stuff about tarot. For an example, and some people might laugh at me on this one, but some people might not know, and I just learned in 2021 78 cards in tarot. There are 78 organs in the body. Yeah, I often wondered where the 78 came from. And there might be some, professional readers out there laughing at me right now, but I did not know that. So I'm constantly learning new things about them. And that's why I find them to be so fascinating. I do use the Rider-Waite deck, and I've seen that be roasted, like on TikTok. And I'm like, that deck is magical because it was painted by a witch. And those images are constantly changing when you see them. That you can look at the card from client to client, and it's not going to read the same way necessarily.
I have the same deck as you, the Rider-Waite one. Every time I look at the cards, I definitely see something different. Like, I just pull them out just to look at them because I think they're pretty. It's like artwork, and I just, every single time I'm like, oh, wow, I noticed this or whatever in this card or this from this card. Like, it looks different every single time.
Totally. And then using it, playing card deck too. Like, you can read tarot with just regular playing cards. They sync up. So that's fascinating too. But yeah, I love tarot. And, I've seen people on, different across social media try to gatekeep tarot and say that it's a closed practice. That is not true at all. The first thing I learned about tarot when I was studying was the history of tarot is a mystery. Every culture seemed to have it, and they don't really know where it came from. And everyone thinks that they know where it comes from, but people that try to gatekeep it and say it's a closed practice is just not accurate. And there might be some people that want to call me out for that one too, but I don't believe it is. And
No,
so
I'll say something I'll say something even more offensive. Like the witchcraft, witchy gatekeepers need to chill the fuck out.
Oh, totally. And I'm like, I'm Native American, so please don't get me started on cultural appropriation and closed practices, because we still can't grasp using white sage and Palo Santo as a spiritual community. People still do it. And so that pisses people off too. So yeah, people that gatekeep a lot, you know, it's obnoxious.
It is.
But tarot is not to be gatekeep. Tarot to me is not a closed practice. And like I said, it's a playing cards. Everybody has playing cards. You can use a playing card deck to read tarot.
Sure.
Which is fascinating. So yeah, I love tarot. And like I said, it's not for everybody, but it is important to know what the cards represent. You know, I do believe in your intuition and basing your intuition on what the cards feel, but they all have like at least a solid foundation of their meanings. And this reader here, I only speak for me in my practice. I just believe like knowing the foundation of what that particular card means, and then you layer your intuition on top of it, if that makes sense.
It does. And thank you for saying that you can only speak for your practice, because that is something that I would love to be very clear on as well. Like anything that anybody hears on this podcast is coming from my opinions, my feelings, my experiences, and also those of my guests. So this doesn't mean like whatever you're doing is right, whatever you're doing is wrong. Absolutely not. It looks different for every single person. And that's honestly, that's the beauty of all of this, of the metaphysics, of witchcraft, of, you know, the community that is within this, because I feel because it looks different for everybody, we can all learn from each other.
Totally. And I want to clarify. Totally. And I want to clarify too, like, when I always say this on every podcast, I do not speak for all Native Americans. And now I have to put a little asterisk. Just because I speak on my particular Native journey does not mean I'm ever saying that my journey has been harder than the next Native. And I do have to say that now, because people always come at me when I speak on Native rights. And I'm like,
you know
okay.
What? But also, are you not allowed to feel the pain of your ancestors? Like, how does that take away from how hard it may or may not be for you?
Right, exactly. And, you know, not every Native American feels the same way I do about Palo Santo and white sage. And that is okay too, you know? So just know where it comes from. That's all I ask. Just know what you're doing with it, where it comes from. And first and foremost, is it killing our Mother Earth, you know? So I have to clarify that just to say, and also being mixed race, you know, my dad's Native American, my mom's white. People want me to be a watered down version of my ancestors. And, you know, when they say that, Kat, I just feel like they're speaking colonizer language when they're trying to whitewash me because my mother is white, you know?
They're trying to put you in a box and not honor the true parts of yourself.
Yeah. And thank you for letting me say that. I know that's not the point of this podcast episode, but nonetheless, you know, people to gatekeep. And
I think it's important for people to hear, because there are so many people these days, especially, I mean, we all know 2020 was hard. COVID fucking sucked. We all went through it collectively. How we choose to deal with, you know, the PTSD or whatever you want to call it from that is on us. But we need to stop being so ugly and stop trying to make things, like, stop with the ownership, if that makes sense. Like, because you like a song does not make that your song. If somebody else likes it and you're going to shit on them, why would you even? You know what I mean? I just feel like this is just such a huge collective annoyance for me.
Totally. Or like when you get men, when you wear a band shirt as a woman and they're like, name 5 songs of this band right now. That's how I feel with everything. You know, it's like I walk outside and it's like, you got to prove X, Y, and Z to be legit. And I'm like, no, I don't.
You know what? I listen to a lot of like old music, but sometimes if a shirt is fucking cute, I'm going to fucking buy it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, it's illegal for me to walk out here bare chest because that's what I really want to do.
Oh, same.
I don't want to put this shirt on, okay? Because I was naked in my house and now I got to walk my dog. Don't fucking like test me on how many Black Sabbath songs I know. Like, get out of here, fool. Like, I saw them in the front row at the Hollywood Bowl. Have you?
Right.
I don't know.
Like,
it's ridiculous.
I've just noticed myself becoming more and more of a hermit because I just can't deal with people on like as a whole anymore.
It happens. And then when you have to deal with spirits on top of it, doing professional mediumship work is also not for the faint of heart, because then you get tapped out with humans and spirits and you're just feeling pulled in all these different directions.
Yes.
Back in 2020, of course, in my sessions with clients, they would ask, did I have any predictions with COVID? And I'm like, yeah, I predicted COVID, but nobody listened. And as well as other people, I wasn't the only one, but and how do you even wrap your brain around it anyway? Like, modern day plague is coming. There's going to be an economic crash. A lot of people are going to die. I wasn't even prepared, even though I was getting messages for it. But yes, to your point, the COVID questions and like spirit talking about it and has died down a little bit. And we are in this new world, if you will. I don't know how woo-woo I'm going to sound, but we are in this 5D, if you will. We are in the new world energy. It is here.
You know what? Like Pop Smoke says, she want to fuck with the woo, and it's 100% okay.
I love.
Rest in peace, Pop Smoke.
That's amazing.
I just had to throw that reference out there because I love when people say like this is all woo woo. I'm like, of course it is. Woo sounds fun. Yeah, I want to talk about like you being Native American and what that looks like for you in the practice that you do, and just kind of how like society reacts in general.
Oh goodness, it has a lot to do with who I am. It's interesting, my journey with being Native American, because I was adopted and I was estranged from my bio side, my bio father's side of the family. I have only been a tribal member in my tribe, which is based in South Carolina. I am a card carrying Native American with a Native number. I'm learning. It's only been a few years. I was invited to my first powwow last year, but then COVID canceled it, of course. And, a lot of people do that when they're a kid. I was adopted by a Native American man as well. So I wasn't completely, what's the word? I was exposed to some traditions, although they weren't of my tribe. So I am learning as I go. I have misspoke on things on podcasts and TV appearances here and there on things, but I'm learning as I go. I didn't grow up with my tribe. I didn't grow up with my bio father or his mother. There is an uncle of mine that used to be the chief of our tribe who spoke the language and still does speak the language. It is his first language, which I think is amazing. And I want to find that man and record every bit of that language so it doesn't get lost. But as far as my magic is concerned, I have a strong, God, where are my words today? This eclipse season, I swear my practice is strong with elemental magic is where I was going, with that, and the elements and working with the elements. And that is such a Native American thing. And, it finally like put this huge puzzle piece together when I found my dad, or he found me rather, and told me this part of my life, because I already knew it deep down within. And when I look at my features too, I've got high cheekbones and my nose and my lips and my eyes and my hair, I've seen a face that has looked back at me over time of my ancestors. Even when I was a kid and didn't know my dad, I would see like these chiefs standing in my room and behind me in the mirror. And even like as I got older, I would see them everywhere. And I guess they were my ancestors, which was wild to think. It didn't click, until I met my dad. But my ancestors, I talk to them every day. I work with them every day. Yeah, and it's powerful. I don't know if that made any sense, but
no, 100%. And I love that. I love the way that you speak about it, because I can tell that you are truly connected to, that aspect of yourself and that being in your blood. I'm just curious, like, you said your dad found you. What? Yeah. Explain that.
He DM'd me on Facebook.
That is wild. Like,
right? Wild. And I don't have my last name on anything. Nobody ever knows my last name. And in fact, with me being adopted, it changed. Mm-hmm. So I had my father's last name till I was about 14 years old. So I've changed my name twice. So people don't really know my last name. I've dropped it for reasons of being on television. And when I was a model, I was in Playboy. And so, the LA life, you just drop your last name so people can't find you. But anyway, yeah, I don't know how he found me. He found me though, and DM'd me, and we just started chatting, and he just told me things I needed to know about myself. You know, first I was asking stuff about like medical history. And then, you know, then he told me about us being Native American and how he's got all this regalia and just native stuff, quote unquote, that he wants to show me. And, you know, show me my family tree and all these like old photographs and photo albums and papers. I did get like a snippet of the cover of the newspaper that has my uncle, well, my great uncle, on the cover of the, I almost said magazine, but the newspaper back in the 90s of him and his regalia.
The one that can still speak the language?
Yes.
Wow.
That man, right? And I'm just like, oh, it's just amazing. And yeah, that's how, I mean, I'm learning as I go. I don't, if I'm being completely honest, without telling too much of my like private life, I don't really have a great relationship with my father or with my father's side of the family. There's a couple cousins that I speak to and I'm learning stuff. And of course the tribe itself like sends me stuff here and there. And like, I got a written letter and I cried. My dad wrote me a letter, the secretary of the tribe. And yeah, you know, and I haven't been able to go to South Carolina to meet the tribe. I've never been to South Carolina. So maybe I will do that sometime soon.
You absolutely should. I feel like that would bring you so in touch with like the deepest parts of yourself.
Absolutely. And I've been procrastinating on it. And then of course, COVID, and then I got the handwritten letter inviting me to my first powwow. And of course it was canceled, but I had every intention of flying across the country and going and just learning more. And, you know, but if I'm being completely radically honest with you, I'm nervous to meet my tribe because I've heard horror stories of biracial mixed race tribal members, Native Americans being spat upon by their tribe, members of their tribe. You know, it's sad because it's like you've got to deal with colonizers, and I know this offends a lot of people, and I don't mean a lot of like white people that are in my life. I don't mean them. You know, we know what a colonizer, we know it. And you know, they act like that. I just can't stand when BIPOC fights BIPOC because it's missing the point. You know, like when women fight women, it's missing the point of the oppressor.
It's counterintuitive. It is.
Thank you. And so, yeah, I get nervous with having a white mother and having white passing skin half of the year. I do tan. It's funny when people see me tan because they're like, oh, did you get a spray tan? And I'm like, no, I get this dark. My father is brown. So yeah, I don't burn. If I burn, it immediately turns to a tan. So yeah, people will see me. It's funny because they're like, you look like two totally different people. And I'm like, yeah, it's the summertime in LA, you know, I'm in the tan. But yes, in the winter time, I'm going to be pale. And we've been mostly in quarantine here in Los Angeles. So I'm a lot paler right now than I normally am. So not a spray tan, that's my skin tone. But nonetheless, I do understand the privilege that it comes with white passing skin. But yeah, definitely will say my whole life I've been racially ambiguous. And when I moved to LA, I did not know my father in 2011 when I moved here. So, you know, people would always ask, like, what are you? It's usually Persian or Armenian or Latina. And I'm like, at the time, I was like, I'm white, you know, and they're like, no, are you sure? And now that I know my father, I identify as Native American. And I'm like, I'm Native American. And I still get the, no, I don't know, though. Are you sure? And I'm just like, damn, you're damned if you do, if you're damned if you don't.
Right. And I really appreciate you saying that about like understanding the privileged side of your mixed race experience.
Oh, for sure.
But also at the same time, like, yes, you understand that privilege, but at the same time, you understand like the sadness and the strife because those are your ancestors. And can I just say, like, when I think of Native Americans, I get sad because I just think of how horrible that they were treated. And like me, my family is like Spanish, French, you know, Scottish. We're a mixed bag of things. I do claim my Spanish side because my grandfather, who I'm close to, is very proud of it. So I, you know, say that I am Spanish. I'm also white, but I understand the white passing thing. At the same time, I've also had people come up to me and try to full blown, like have a conversation with me in Spanish. And I'm like, no habla, you know what I mean? So yeah. I appreciate the fact that you said that you recognize that there is the privilege from, you know, the whiter half of you, but at the same time, like, what a special connection to the things that those people, your ancestors, went through.
Yes. And how strong, you know, how strong they are. Because we're still here. And the reality is, Kat, you know, the white part of it and white passing, even that term, that's an American thing. When you go to other countries, it is
offensive.
I don't identify as that. People have made me feel that I have to say that. And I don't like saying that, because I understand it. I know deep down in my heart, I understand my privilege. And that's why I've tried. And if I get emotional, my apologies. No, that's why I've tried my best to use my platform to speak for Native folks, for Native rights, for MMIW. And there are people out there that still to this day say I'm not Native. And it's not going to silence me. It's not going to stop me, because I know that that is an American thing. That's a colonizer's thing. It's ingrained colonization. It's just when you travel to other countries, they don't do that. They don't say white passing. That's an American thing because of colonization. You go to the countries, you tell them what you are, and there's no question about that. So that's what's like, people really need to understand. And just because somebody has a white parent, no matter if they, you know, are Black or Native or Hispanic, you're still that. You're still Spanish, Kat. You're still Spanish. People cannot take that away from you. That's what they've tried to do since the beginning of time. And so I'm like, why do you want one less, or not you, but one? Why does one want less Native person because they have a white parent? Aren't we trying to not kill our people off? Don't we want more of our people? I mean, so many Native people had to lie and say they were white, so their history is erased, and they are not even counted as Native Americans. And so when people come to me and say stuff like, oh, I've always thought that I was Native American, but there's no history of that, they probably are, to be honest. And unfortunately, a lot of Natives had to lie and say they were white to stay alive. And that history has been eradicated. So, but yeah, you know, it's sad whenever you're enrolled and the government, the fucking government looks, I am a Native to the government. I know I don't check Caucasian on anything, which, by the way, is also an American thing for jobs and housing. You know, other countries don't have your ethnicity that you have to check. But
I was just going to comment. I was just going to comment on that. No, don't apologize. I love it. No, my grandpa actually is like very passionate about my brother and I checking, you know, when they're like, you know, Caucasian, African American, like whatever the boxes, whatever the labels are. He's like, make sure you check Hispanic because you are Spanish. Don't forget that. Like that's his thing. Yeah. He's very proud of it.
Same. My tribe is too. The secretary of my tribe was like, you better be checking Native American and filling in the name of our tribe. So I feel your grandpa. But, you know, I do also think too that I shouldn't have to say when I speak on Native rights. So if the message is correct, if the message is rooted in truth, why should I have to say in that message, but I understand that my white passing privilege has been a different journey. People have come at me online so much saying, well, you need to recognize how privileged you are by your white passing skin. And I'm just like, wow, I don't have to say that every fucking time I make a post. I mean, across the board, accumulated on all social media platforms, I have over 200,000 followers. And so how am I not supposed to say anything? Or when I get a, you know, TV appearance or a wonderful guest spot on a beautiful podcast like yours, how am I not supposed to say something with every little bit of platform that I get? So it's people that I feel, there's a lot of different things that I've spoken on why they do it. But I also feel like people try to bring down messengers and people that have a purpose on this, in this incarnation, on this planet, has a sole purpose. And they're too busy focused on tearing the messenger down when they're speaking the truth, you know? So I end up not responding to people. I've had people flood my DMs and be like, you need to recognize your white privilege. And I'm like, wow, dude. What are you doing? That's what I really should ask them. What are you doing for Native rights? Are you helping trying to eradicate a bill in Montana that still says to this day in the 21st century that you can shoot 7 to 8 or more Native Americans if they're somewhere, anywhere, because they're, what is it called? Loitering. You can. It says it in a written law in the 21st century still. So what are people doing to eradicate that law? You know what I mean? Instead of like coming at people online with platforms and an audience and engagement. Anyway, I am very passionate about this. I could go on and on and on.
Yeah. Is there like some place that you can recommend if anybody's listening and feels called to like donate or, you know, try to make a difference? Like, what would you recommend is the best avenue?
Yeah, if you guys follow me on Brittany Leigh Tarot, I post all the time. I'll post things in my IG story. Anything that goes to MMIW, I'm like spacing on exact organizations, but I can definitely refer you to them. I have them written down and I want to get them correct. But basically, MMIW is Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women. And anything that goes to them and that organization is so helpful. So helpful.
For me, at least, like, because I don't know what else to do because I'm not in that person's shoes, because I'm not living, you know, the Black experience in this life. I'm not living the Native American experience in this life. I'm not ever going to understand fully what those individuals go through. So if it's the least that I can do, I just think it's so important. That's all.
Thank you, Kat. Thank you for saying that. That's very kind of you, because there are people that don't even say that. I heard in a conversation in passing, someone just talking about racism, a white guy, of course, you know, and I'm not trying to hate on anybody right now or judge anybody, but they did say like, well, I've just never seen it or experienced it. And I like, again,
well, aren't you
passing,
lucky?
Thank you. Thank you. They weren't talking to me, so I didn't have any, I couldn't interject, but in my mind, I was going to just like, of course you haven't seen it. You are white.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't understand. It's like, I don't know. I don't even want to use examples because nothing compares, but I can't, I mean, that's like men talking about women's reproductive rights. How is it even a thing? And I'm sorry, you're in Texas with these laws that are being passed for abortion bans. Oh, and I didn't even want to bring that up. A part of me was like, I want to talk to her about Texas and like.
No, we can totally talk about it, but I'm fully fucking disgusted to be a Texas resident currently.
Yeah, it's just like, why are men speaking on stuff like that? They should not. They don't have a vagina.
So did you hear about the ice storm back in like February that happened here when basically the whole state shut down because our power grid just decided to be like, I'm out. Nah.
What happened? I did hear about that. It was just awful from what it looked like. I've never been in an ice storm, so I can't wrap my head around it.
So, okay. The thing about living here, and if it starts raining here, people are like, oh my God, fucking moisture. Let me just crash into everything I see. Like, it's ridiculous. So this whole ice storm thing happened. I think it was like the Thursday before, maybe even the Friday. I don't remember the full timeline, but right before everything kind of shut down statewide, there was a huge 100-car accident, literally 2 miles from my house. 100-car accident. Like, can you even imagine? Like, that's how shitty Texas roads are in like that kind of weather.
Wow. No, I can't wrap my brain around that.
So that was just kind of like the start to a turn of really unfortunate events. A lot of us lost power for days. A lot of us were, you know, essentially working from home intermittently because every 2 hours we would have 30 minutes of power, or, you know, the next day we would have none at all. And then people's water started shutting off because the pipes were freezing and people were scared to turn it on. It was just a hot fucking mess. Hot fucking mess. Not only did Governor Abbott put into place this whole abortion bullshit, so now like my girls have to drive to fucking New Mexico to get legal same-day abortions, which is insane. If you don't have a uterus, ovaries, a vagina, don't tell us what to do. Anyway, circling back to what I was talking about. So, okay, during that whole ice storm, Ted Cruz went to fucking Cancun and had his wife texting all of their friends being like, oh, hey, by the way, we have rooms reserved at the Ritz in Cancun. Get out of the weather. Come stay with us. He left his fucking dog at home. And, you know,
my God.
By the way, the dog's name is fucking Snowflake because of course it is. So not only did Ted Cruz shit on the state of Texas, but now Governor Abbott is shitting on the women of Texas. And I'm so disgusted. So disgusted. Like, I just don't understand how a man has control over what we do with our bodies.
Yeah, very Handmaid's Tale, dude. Yeah, they don't care about lives. They just care about controlling women's bodies
Yeah.
because that's what puritanical Christian quote unquote men, white men don't. It's just I couldn't. And I wish every woman would just up and just move out of Texas right now. You know, it's just, and I understand that's a lot easier said than done. But I wish that everyone would just leave the state of Texas. Then what? You know?
Yeah.
Just, and I know that that's not a reality because if somebody was like, up and move out of California, I couldn't do that right now. So, you know, I just, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to the women of Texas.
The mask mandate was lifted before the majority of Texas residents could get the vaccine. Like, whether you stand on the side of you're pro-vax or anti-vax, whatever, I don't care. That's your choice. But at the same time, it's just the principle. Why was the mandate lifted before the vaccine was available?
Yeah, I did not understand that at all. I saw that in the news and I was just like, wow. You know, and people will probably come at me for this, but there are no fucks given here. What is the harm in wearing a mask? Because I haven't gotten a cold. I haven't gotten COVID. I'm still going to wear one. That's all I'm going to say.
Exactly.
Even with people being vaccinated, I'm still going to wear one. And I know I'm going to get judged for it, which I feel is just strange.
You're judged even if you don't wear one. So it's like you can't win. And my mom works in healthcare. She's a nurse anesthetist and was assigned to a COVID unit from basically day one, like on the front lines. I had to hear stories of her experiences at work and listen to her have like multiple crying fits on the phone because she just couldn't take it anymore. Like, she was very insistent, like, Kat, you have to wear a mask. Like, please, if you're going to do anything for me, please just do this. And so I did it. I did it for my mom. That's the reason I got vaccinated, because I was like, if my mom can be on the front lines of this, and you thank the universe, she did not get COVID, then why can't I comply, wear a mask, get vaccinated, care about other people?
I love that you said that about your mom, because I was hearing stories like that too. And I had 7 nurses actually do like a group Zoom, like group tarot reading with me on Zoom during that. I'll never forget that. And they're like, do the tarot reading, tell us what's going to happen. And they were telling me horror stories. I was on Zoom with them for hours, spent like a whole evening with them, felt like I was there with them doing this tarot reading. But hearing those stories forever changed me. Not that I never not believed in it, but it was just, didn't see it firsthand. How can you not believe their stories? They're not all conspiring with each other. There's still people that believe COVID is not real right now, as you and I speak and breathe and talk right now. I could go on and on about how I feel about it. I could talk about the spiritual aspects of it too, but just seeing the way humanity acts. And we really will have to omit now from the English vocabulary, from the vernacular, avoiding people like the plague, because we know people don't do that. Right? Like that. How did that even become a slogan? Because I read stories from like the last plague that we had. There were anti-maskers and protesters back in like 1910. So it's a thing in humanity. I mean, it just repeats itself. I think on a deeper level, to me, that's what's the most monotonous about. Now, this is my Scorpio side coming out. The monotonous life of human earthly existence is that it just feels like it's repetitious.
Can I just like piggyback off of that? Because I'm just curious, because I believe in like past lives and like, ancestral things being passed down, things like that. Do you think that history repeats itself in the way that it does? Because there are still so many people that have not learned the lesson.
Yeah, perhaps. I do believe in that theory. And then sometimes I feel like time isn't linear and it's all one thing. Like it's all happening all at once, if that makes any sense. Yeah. So it's interesting. I do believe in past lives. And I feel like, a lot of times, because I've had many, according to Akashic record readers and past life regression hypnotists, and they've told me I've had so many lives. One told me I come back and I don't even have any more karma to relearn or relive. I mean, of course, I encountered karma as an earthly being, but like as far as the karma of all my lives, I don't know. I mean, I dig that theory, but I also subscribe to like I'm still learning lessons, because I'm almost positive I was like an asshole womanizing man, because in this life I was given this body, this voice, this brain, and I've had the worst fucking track record for like relationships and love with like men. So I'm just wondering if I was like an egotistical womanizer in a past life at some point, because I feel like I'm being punished in this one. That's like what I have to learn or something. I don't know. I can like entertain a lot of theories, but yeah, to answer it in a very long-winded way, I totally think we come back to learn and clear our ancestral karma too. I don't know, but then it also doesn't it also feel like if you really tap into your past lives, that they're all living simultaneously because you can connect with them. And I see them as different entities that like guide you. So that's wild to think about.
That does come up for me, but it comes up in the form of nostalgia. Like randomly, I will get a kick on like bossa nova music or French cafe music, or I'll start eating like one certain type of food for a month straight or whatever. I think it's because like spirit is trying to relive that through me.
Yes, I like that because I love nostalgia too.
It's the best feeling, honestly.
It really is. And I know. If you're living in the past, you're not in the present. I do know that. But you also reflect and learn a lot. You know, it's great to be present and in the moment. But there's something great about the past and definitely not worrying about the future. But no, I love nostalgia.
So it's not even that I'm like not living in the moment or that I'm not present, because I've actually like done so much work to get to that point where I am present in every single situation, every single moment of my life. But just the nostalgia, and this is how I know it's spirit, it comes in waves. It'll hit me out of nowhere and I'll see something that just like resonates with me, and I'll like either research it or go home and like listen to whatever song popped in my head. It's just different, I guess, emotions that come up for me in certain situations. And it just feels like this is familiar. This is comforting. I'm not sure why, but I'm going to go with it.
I love that. And that resonates.
I hope it does.
I like the way you think.
I appreciate that.
That's totally valid. It makes a lot of sense to me.
See, I think so too. But, I, like I said, can only speak on my personal opinions, experiences.
Yeah, definitely think you're onto something. There was something, and it was fleeting. It was a fleeting moment when you were saying that. It was almost like I was channeling as you were saying that, definitely seeing Egypt as you were speaking.
Okay, because I am obsessed with Cleopatra. Elizabeth Taylor as Cleopatra is my favorite because my grandmother looked exactly like Liz Taylor.
I love that, which we know damn well that's not what Cleopatra really looked like, but still.
No, of course not. Of course not. Yes.
But yeah, oh my God. And oh my God, your grandmother, what a knockout.
I feel her all the time. As bad as I wish that she was still here, I definitely like feel her all the time.
Oh, I love that. I love that film. I love Elizabeth Taylor in that too. And yeah, I've seen Egypt. I see Egypt a lot. I love ancient Egypt, anything. I feel a strong connection there too. Also, I feel like when we meet people in this incarnation that were from our past lives in Egypt, that's why we vibe so hard. And like, we're instant soul connection. And it does go back to ancient Egypt. I mean, everything really does. Whether you're from there or not, I feel like at some capacity, in some life, somewhere, we all went there, right?
Totally.
I don't know. That's just my thought, because the theory, and I feel like it's coming up a lot lately, is because we're learning more stuff about Egypt and how advanced they were. They had technology and they had terrestrial energy for 100%. And I feel like it is relevant in the 21st century. Yeah, oh, yeah. I like that I was seeing that while you were talking about that.
Did you pick up on like Egypt and my grandma?
Yeah, I think so. That might have been why I went there. Well, you know what's interesting? I was talking to you. We were talking about like spirits when I was talking about my grandmother. I was like, I do feel like her grandmother is here too. And I kept seeing her like a silent film, like in the 20s, 30s star, like something in Hollywood, like on a black and white photo on a wall of a cafe. That's what I was seeing. In fact, if she is around with me right now in my apartment, I feel like she's to the right side of me. And I feel like, or just an energy that's on your spiritual team in court is here to the right side of me. And what's funny, because on the right side of me, I have a piece of Marilyn Monroe's hair. So what? Spirits gravitate towards that. Yeah, isn't that, first of all, it's wild how I got it. Secondly, some spirits gravitate towards that. And I felt like she was standing over there. So that makes sense if she was this, I don't know, like a Hollywood star. Maybe she was in a previous life.
Honestly, though, she looked like one. She really did.
It's amazing. I'll have to see. You have to send me a picture of her if you're comfortable with that.
Yes, absolutely. I will send you so many because I love to show her off. To be honest, I think in her journey now, she is her younger self. That is how I see her. And at this point, it more so feels like, I mean, of course, I know she's my grandmother, but it more so feels like she's my friend and she's looking out for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because
I
she's like
totally feel
around my
that.
age. That's how I picture her.
Oh, wow. Do you feel anything ever when you think of her to the right side of you?
I get goosebumps all down my right arm. That's how I know she's here.
Yeah, she's just the right side. If she's around, if I'm tapping into this and my head's a little swimmy, I haven't channeled since Monday. I had to take some time. This eclipse energy has been hitting me strong.
Yeah.
Not to say I can't channel in it, because we can really harness this energy right now too for spirits and working with spirits and doing spell work for sure. Yeah, I feel like she's standing to the right side. I do feel like definitely would love these places because the historical buildings are old like actors studios and lofts from the silent film era. So historical buildings that I'm around. I'm trying to like not say exactly where I live.
No.
Yeah. Totally. I was like, I've kind of given up a lot of information on where I live here. But most people know I live in Los Feliz and the history of Los Feliz and Hollywood. It is in between Silver Lake and Hollywood. And so, yeah, there's all this history. But I feel like she likes it here is all I'm saying. And maybe that's that portal. There is a portal at the base of Griffith Observatory at Griffith Park. So there's a spirit portal. They come and they go that way. That is my opinion. And I've heard it from other people too.
I need to come to LA. We need to hang out.
Yeah.
Like this. Yes.
Totally.
This has to happen.
I know. It happens like that, doesn't it? It's like so organic, but I like that. And it's well received. Like people recognize when something is not forced or contrived at all.
There's good energy here. I feel like I'm talking to like my BFF.
I love that. Yep. We've definitely been connected somewhere before because we didn't really communicate too much online before this. I mean, here and there, of course, but like we didn't know anything about each other really.
Can I tell you a secret?
Yeah.
I actually really hate social media.
That's okay. God, I miss the good old days.
I don't have a Facebook. I refuse to do Facebook. I have Instagram like begrudgingly only because I have so many photos of my son from like, when I was pregnant with him to current that I just can't get rid of it.
And you'll like looking back at that, I'm sure.
I do it every day and I just cry because he just turned 8. He's now a 3rd grader. Yesterday was his last day of school. So I'm like, on top of this fucking eclipse, full moon, all this, I'm just a hot ass mess.
I can't even imagine having a child during all of this. I commend every mother on this planet. I'm like, how are you doing? How? So congratulations. You're
honestly,
like doing the damn work.
So many people have said that to me. And while I appreciate it, like obviously, because I'm like, oh, thanks. You think I'm a good mom. Perfect. That's like what I'm trying to do. At the same time, I'm like, I don't really feel like it was that hard. Like I got to spend so much extra time with my son that like normally would not have been able to do. And like, yeah, it sucked because we couldn't go to like the movies or out to eat but we created like our own fun here, like at my house. And I really am so thankful for the time that I got to spend like one-on-one with him, even though it was frustrating as fuck, like trying to work full time and homeschool him and like him throwing fits because he was just like not having it. I'm obviously not a teacher. That's not my calling in life. So I just like chalk it up to it's extra family time. Thank you, COVID, at least for that.
And that's a beautiful thing. See, I feel like it bonded people or pulled them apart if they live with others, I don't, it's an interesting thing. And honestly, I kind of feel, and this is just my opinion, that's how things are supposed to be. Like, I mean, I don't really think people should be, and this is a whole rabbit hole, but capitalism and like making kids go to school. I don't know. I know it's a touchy subject with people, but I'm just like, why do kids have to go to school at that hour? Like really early. And I don't know. I just felt like I didn't resonate when people were like, kids are not learning because they're not in school. And I'm like, but they are. They're learning how to survive a plague. And I'm sure that they're learning things staying at home with their parents that they maybe have never been able to do. So.
Well, and they're learning like street smarts at that point because people keep saying college degrees don't matter anymore. Why not learn the street smarts? Why not learn the emotional, like you had to go through that emotionally to learn that you have the emotional strength to get through something like that. Like that's learning in itself.
Oh, totally. And it's like, We didn't learn how to file taxes or self-love or meditation or, all the things that really prepare you for things in life. And, what is it? Like, people with master's degrees are getting lucky to get a $60,000 a year job with a master's degree, begging for $60,000 a year jobs in this country.
Exactly. My dad, for example, is a veteran. He served like over 20 years in the Army, has a double master's, and couldn't even get hired at the fucking Home Depot.
Wow. How are we not focusing on that? The minimum wage has not increased. And, I'll have people in my DMs being like, who cares? Why are you talking about this? Go back to talking about witchcraft or whatever. And I'm like, this is a part of being a witch, is speaking up on this shit. Witches are political. Don't get it twisted. Yeah. And I'm really tired of calling things politics when it's human lives. It's life or death. And like, oh, don't get me started on people that are moving out of LA and talking shit about the homeless. Cause I'm like, first of all, a lot of homeless in LA are from other cities. They're not from LA. And the reason why they come here is because they treat, quote unquote, the homeless better here, which they don't, because during a plague, they were out there in fucking riot gear, getting the LAPD was getting them off the streets in riot gear. They're still doing it. And there are protests going on right now as you and I speak here in Los Angeles, people protesting to leave the homeless the fuck alone during a plague. They're trying to get them they throw away their tents, all their belongings, what little belongings. It's disgusting. And then you see other people talking shit about it. But it does relate to what we're talking about, like your father. With all those credentials, there's so many people like that. And when you're in bigger cities, because the numbers are higher, it's just a math thing, you're going to see what homelessness really looks like. And when people come here, some people from back home, from my family and friends, they don't realize how bad the homeless is, yes, in Los Angeles, but in this country as a whole. It's a representative as a whole. And like I said, it's from people from other states that come here. It's not all Los Angeles residents, but it's just sad. And heaven forbid you have a next door app in LA because you learn what neighbor of yours has an intolerance for. The unhoused is what I'm trying to say more now than homeless, but the unhoused, or you know what I mean? It's just interesting. And it's not that different in other cities. People just think it's in bigger cities. No, I even heard like back home in Pensacola, their rent is skyrocketed. People can't afford, minimum wage job, 40 hours a week and living on their own. That is obsolete in the United States of America in the 21st century. And that's all I got to say about it right now. And stay up out of my DMs because I don't bend. People are like, just go back to talking about witchcraft or tarot. It's like, fuck you.
No, we have a responsibility. I mean, not that I have like a giant platform, yet. Okay. But
yes.
I have a platform. So therefore, I feel it is my responsibility to speak on this. And I actually feel maybe not a connection to every single homeless person, but I understand because I actually had an uncle who he was homeless and wanted nothing to do with the country of America. And he was adopted. So he was born in Ireland, joined the military, left the military, became an artist, and then became basically a vagabond. And unfortunately he's passed, but that's how he lived his life. And I heard stories of how he was treated. He lived in Florida also, like in a tent basically. But yeah, it just kills me that there's not better systems put in place to actually take care of our people.
And
oh my God, why are we being so depressing?
It's this eclipse energy. We are in full moon, lunar eclipse, blood, flower moon. It's a part of this energy. It's very organic, but this conversation, because it's totally that energy. But also, I think there is a responsibility as someone that identifies as a witch with a platform to talk about this stuff. And I just think people have a misconception because witch gets overused and misused, and all of every bit of spirituality gets overused, misused, and misrepresented, even in the 21st century. And
so that is what I talk about like constantly, because I feel like there's such a lack of representation, but the representation that is out there makes it seem like it's a joke. Like I've said this before, don't get me wrong, Hocus Pocus, that is my all-time favorite fucking movie. I've loved it since I was 3 years old, but it kind of like portrays a more like kitschy, aspect to things.
Yeah. And I being
You know?
someone that loves practical magic, I still love that movie. It's like my comfort
Same.
movie. And it's Hollywood. They would never put everything in plain sight, but a lot of things are in plain sight. But yeah, I get what you mean. They put a weird spin on it, or, and I'm not hating on anybody. I fucking love TikTok, by the way. Like, it's my favorite app, and I don't have that many followers, and I don't post a lot, but I see a lot of like witch talk, if you will. And it's just a lot of misconception. And the tarot readers, everything's a fucking twin flame reading. And I'm like, and they're pulling like cards that I know that's not what that means. It's ridiculous. I'm like, you're pulling a tarot card and you're talking about the twin flame. And don't get me started on twin flames. I was on another podcast going the fuck off about twin flames and how, like, I think they are so toxic. But every reader on TikTok talks about twin flames, or I don't know. I feel judgmental when I say stuff like this. And I'm not a gatekeeper, and I love baby witches, and I counsel them, I help them. And like, I want more people to open up to their craft and open up more of their third eye. I do want people to be more open. And that's what this energy is. But it's hard when you have people that are misrepresenting it. You've got all these overnight tarot readers and that have no understanding of the craft. And, but I also know that these people are fucking with shit that will end up serving them their karma. That's the reality. If you misuse divination or witchcraft, there is a karmic repercussion for that. There always has been, and there always will be. And there's every witch alive will tell you that they've run into it, because they have. And if they haven't, then they're not being truthful, or they're just not a real witch. And witches do speak on politics, quote unquote, which are human rights. I'm tired of calling things politics when they're human rights, and people got it twisted. I got a lot, again, I always talk about, I got a lot of shit. People always got shit to say online. Of course, we remember that. We don't remember all the love you get, but all those negative comments stick in your brain, don't they?
Exactly, because that is the toxic tendency of the human collective.
It is. And it's just like, stop talking about, all political stuff. But I'm just like, you don't understand what witches are. They were literally drugged out of their fucking houses. And let's get real, it weren't just witches. It was single women or beautiful women that, turned down a man. They would drag them out of their house and fucking burn them alive, or hang them, or torture them, drown them. How the fuck can they not speak on white supremacy? Oppressors. How can they not? Those are the same people killing them, dragging them out of their homes, killing them in front of everybody, and how do they not get upset seeing stuff that's going on in the 21st century? How are they not angry? And witch aside, how is just a human being in the 21st century not angry when they look around and see what things are occurring? But we're doing the work. That's the thing. That's what I tell myself anyway. I try to do my best. Even just showing up every day, being a better version of yourself helps the collective.
I do have a question for you, because one of my previous guests asked me the question, like, well, what is being a witch? What does that mean? And I had a really hard time, like, putting it into words. I don't know how to put into words, like, what it is, what it means to me, what it looks like for me, because essentially, like, being a witch looks different for everybody.
For sure. I think sometimes it's hard to articulate what it exactly is, because it is so different to everybody. And that's why I always say, like, it's genderless, it's anybody. And it's an empowered energy is the way that I see it, knowing your power and how to use that power. It's not a misuse or an abuse of power, a true witch. I do feel like it is very feminine, but masculine. It's a balance of both, but the divine feminine is what I really think of. And I think of like our sacred life force. And I think of us just like as just powerful, just having like a sense of our own power, elemental power, seeing the magic and the beauty and the vibration, the frequency in every living thing, from the clothes that I wear to the trees outside. Like, again, it's hard to articulate, but it's, again, power, being powerful and using that power for the collective, and how like harness that, if you will. I don't know. I give it a different description every time. I just feel like for me right now, I'm really focusing on with this eclipse energy, being able to transmute some of these shadowy aspects of myself, some of the things that have come up in this podcast, and being able to transmute that into energy of power. and doing something with it that helps the collective. I just feel like that's what witchcraft is, it's being able to know that you can speak and do and put things into action. You're the alchemizer. I don't know if that's the best description of it or the most articulate, but it's kind of where I'm at. Just like alchemizer, alchemizing this energy right now. I do see this nice balance.
Yeah, I that was probably a better description than the one that I was trying to provide.
Yeah, and neither is right or wrong. That's the beauty of it. It's like,
exactly.
And some people walk in this lifetime and they never identify with that word. Isn't that something? Because it's not for everybody. Not everybody is. So I think that's a beautiful thing. And not every witch is a psychic. Not every witch is a medium. That's great if you are. And a lot of them are, but not every single one. So yeah. And witches are still being killed in the 21st century. So there's still witches that are afraid to come out of the broom closet, if you will. And
that's
I think
literally what I call it. Did you really just say that? No, I literally say that. I'm always like, I'm fresh out of the broom closet. Like, this is my introduction to the world. Like, bitch, you just stole my slogan.
I didn't even know. Of course, like mine.
Exactly. I'm not even mad.
And more coming out, and that's great. But, just misrepresenting it is very hurtful, and it's harmful. Like I was really up in arms with, Sephora back when it was a few years ago, having a witch kit, just like at the end of the aisle in a plastic container, a witch kit that anybody can buy with no practitioners or anybody working in a metaphysical shop that has any little bit of knowledge about what they're selling. I mean, they did come off the shelves, but I will never forget that. Which, by the way, a lot of like occultism and witchcraft are being used in capitalism, and like because major designers are using. Yes. And I'm like, there are like, and I'm not hating on all of it, but some of it I'm just like, wow, dude.
I mean, I think the turning point, and this is going to sound kind of out there. Obviously, there were people before this person that kind of paved the way for witches in a sense. But I feel like Alexander McQueen was like a real pioneer.
God. Oh yeah. Fucking love Alexander McQueen.
And it's just so sad that he, ended his life.
Damn, does his spirit live on?
Right? Okay, that's what I'm saying. Like, I just think that he was such a powerful individual that like, it's almost impossible to deny that he had a part in bringing, like witches or people that practice different things, whatever that looks like, to Alexander McQueen. I can't speak on his behalf, but it seems and it feels very witchy. So for him to bring that to life when he is like a huge, huge influence on the world, like I think that is so special. So I think we should get into some listener questions. First of all, my mom knew that I was going to be interviewing with you, and she wanted me to ask you about this book. Yes. Okay. So she wanted to know, have you read or heard of the book called Braiding Sweetgrass?
No, I don't think so. Should I?
Yes, apparently it's about alternative forms of indigenous knowledge outside of traditional Scientology methodologies.
That sounds amazing. I will totally read it.
No, and I really want to now as well, because I'm just reading the description. I just pulled it up on Amazon. It says, for only when we can hear the languages of other beings will we be capable of understanding the generosity of the earth and learn to give our own gifts in return.
That's amazing. And how beautiful your mom is reading that.
My mom is a very like self-educated person. She likes to understand all aspects of humans.
Yeah, I resonate with that too. I'll check that out. I love a good book recommendation.
So that was one question. Miss Melanie Elizabeth wants to know, what has been the biggest adjustment you've made in your life since becoming a pro witch? I guess like professional witch, or like in support of? I'm not sure.
First of all, I love her. I love Elizabeth. She is such a talented makeup artist. If you guys heard her name, follow her.
Okay, let me repeat it. It's Miss_Melanie Elizabeth_ on Instagram.
Oh, she's so great. She has a beautiful TikTok too. Okay, can you repeat the question? I'm all like seeing her in my mind now and her beautiful makeup.
Absolutely. Okay. She says, what has been the biggest adjustment you've made in your life since becoming a pro witch? I'm not sure if she means like professional or like
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Biggest adjustments? Oh my goodness. I have totally amped up my abilities, or I've been given new gifts, received new gifts. All my clairs are open. It's been done a lot for my healing journey. So that's how I've adjusted. I've like amped up my craft, if you will. I know I keep repeating my words. I have a better vocabulary, but yeah, that's what I would say. Like I feel more of a seasoned witch, and then you learn a lot about people and holding space for people and humanity, and you have to have a lot of empathy and patience. My therapist says that like I'm doing her work times two, because I'm like channeling as I'm doing that, which I don't consider myself a therapist, and by no way, shape, or form am I saying I'm a therapist. But like I just have learned a lot about myself and others, and I just find it to be just beautiful work. Like I was acting and modeling, and before I got into this professionally, it was always going on in the background of my life, but not a professional. And I don't even think about those things as much as I did before, because I always thought that that was my calling, which acting is healing as you're healing others. So it is kind of like that. And I also feel like makeup artists and hairstylists and stylists are psychic mediums, like in different professions. I say there's healers everywhere in all walks of life. They're not always professional, but nonetheless, it was all leading here. And I'll never forget, I was in this metaphysical shop, and this woman said, "Why would you ever go back to something like that?" She was like, you've hit the holy grail. It's like you've climbed the mountain. Why would you go back down the mountain, cross the bridge? I believe that's what she said. And I was just like, yeah, it does feel like that. And getting new gifts is really fucking cool. I've been predicting things down to the day of the event, what the person's wearing, what they're saying, what's in their teeth, like down to the date, minute it happens. So yeah, it's wild. And then my mediumship abilities have skyrocketed to the point where the accuracy scares me sometimes, because I'm literally living in another realm. It's wild. I hope that was helpful.
Absolutely. I get the accuracy aspect because I'm really good at names. So when spirit comes through, their name is the first thing that comes through for me. And people are usually
That's
like
amazing.
shitting themselves because they're like, there's no way you would have known that.
Yeah. So, I can't always get names. So that is incredible.
And I mean, it may not always be like a full blown, like full name, but it may be like the initials.
Yes. I get more of initials, and every now and again, they'll tell me that's amazing. I love that.
Two people. Okay. I don't know how to say this. I'm going to totally butcher this because it looks like it's in French, but Étoile, Poussier. Anyway.
Yes.
She had a few questions. So the first one is shadow work helpful in your craft? I'm going to go ahead and say abso-fucking-lutely.
Oh, yeah. Of course. It's basically what I was saying. You heal yourself as you heal others. But yeah, you amplify your gifts as you heal. So you have that discernment more with your intuition. And abso-fucking-lutely. You can't go wrong doing shadow work. And you can definitely do shadow work. I think it's one of the main contributions to mediumship and and spirituality and witchcraft in general.
It's like continuous education, in my opinion. Shadow work.
It totally is. Oh, absolutely. And there's we can't even summarize shadow work really quickly, but basically just healing. It's like a lot of things. People have to have just be radically honest with themselves. And we're all guilty of not doing that sometimes. A lot of people live in shame and denial and guilt and fear, and we all do it. We all fall into it, but you've got to know yourself, know thyself.
Yeah, I agree. I think shadow work is probably essentially like, okay, yes, you can recognize that you may have certain abilities, but shadow work is going to help you fully address those abilities, and it's going to help you strengthen those abilities. And it's so important to bring up the uncomfy parts of yourself, because that's how you truly learn to love yourself.
Absolutely.
Because you meet yourself where you're at, and that is so important.
Totally. I do feel too that the more someone loves themselves or is on a self-love journey, they have a better grasp within themselves to trust like their intuition. Because I get a lot of people asking me about how do you know it's your intuition? You know, what is your intuition? And I feel like the more, it's not saying that you have to have your self-love mastered and you have to love yourself, because everybody has an intuition if they love themselves or not, but to be able to listen to it and trust yourself. I feel like self-love and shadow work and healing in general. And like nobody masters self-love anyway. That comes, you know, in waves and duality of that. But you can trust yourself more to know. Because people ask me, how do you just know? And I'm like, because I trust myself.
And trusting yourself is the biggest form of self-love, in my opinion.
And your intuition has got you. It usually is a gentle knowing, even in situations that you need to get out of. It's gentle. Yep. It's, you know, anxiety is usually fear-based, and that's not your intuition. And yeah, that's a whole other conversation too. I talk about intuition all the time. Also, it's an American thing to like not know about it, which no offense to, you know, people in America, and I'm in America, obviously, but because of Christianity or because of religion, I'll say that, like, not always they teach you about intuition, but in other cultures and religions, intuition is treated like a god. It's a god. It's a form of God.
If they do teach you about intuition, it's the devil's work.
Oh, right. How? Oh, don't even get me. I'll get so pissed off. I'm just like,
Same. It's okay. We don't have to go there.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, you know, everything that is in puritanical Christian, like everything. They're saying like crystals are devil's. Crystals that grow out of the earth, that are inside of our earth's crust, is made by God, your source. And you're going to tell me that's the devil's doing? Get the fuck out of here. And then, by the way, anybody that's listening to, they think that crystals are the devil, they need to throw their iPhone away, because they shouldn't be using that, because it's made of fucking quartz. You know what I mean?
Yes. Next question, same person. Do you have any advice for baby witches?
Oh, a lot, but definitely grounding and protecting. Please ground and protect. And there's a lot of things I can get into with that. I talk about it a lot on my IG lives. I have like IG live videos saved on my Instagram if people want to go back and hear me talk about protecting and grounding yourself. But it's imperative with this work, and I've learned from experience. So if it ever sounds like I'm on my high horse or preachy, it's just I've learned the hard way, unfortunately. And grounding and protecting is essential to life, really. But if you're going to start doing witchcraft, first of all, do your research, and then make sure your mind, body, soul connected.
That is
do the
advice.
Research. Yeah.
Yes.
You know, and that's a longer answer, but in its shortest form.
Same person wants to know, how long have you known that you've been a psychic?
Since I was a kid.
Easy answer. Love that.
Yeah. I'm like, man, I didn't start calling myself that until I got into the professional side of it. But yeah, and it still sometimes sounds weird rolling off the tongue, but yeah, my parents used me as their, you know, we didn't have, this is also dating myself, but we didn't have caller ID. We didn't have, you know, phones on the wall with a cord with no caller ID. You didn't know who was calling. And my parents would ask me at the age of like 5 or 6, I was young, who's going to be on the phone? And I would always know. I also always knew as a kid what song was going to come on the radio. And that was the first signs of it. But at that time, I definitely wasn't calling myself psychic. And then I would have a lot of dreams that would come true. Still happens. A lot of prophetic dreams come through. More people, everybody's psychic. They have access to it. Well, I would say everybody has access to it. Not everybody has it turned on. And scientists say it runs through the ESP runs through the central nervous system. So everybody's got one of those. So everybody gets psychic or has abilities. That was my first knowing. Yeah. I've never not known it. Was I scared of it at points? Hell yeah. Did I run away from it at points? Absolutely. But it's always been there. I've always looked back at it and yeah, I've always been like this.
I say the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So last question from the same person, but they would like to know, how's the LA, Los Angeles spiritual community?
overall, I've learned a lot. I'm in it, I'm a part of it. So I have to be mindful too. And I've learned as I've gone as well. We all learn, we've all made mistakes. I have my moments with it because sometimes within the Los Angeles spiritual community, there will be appropriation. We touched on that, in this podcast, but just appropriation. A lot of shamans out here that aren't fucking shamans. That's an initiation within Native culture, and there's a lot of white people in LA that call themselves shamans. There's a lot of toxic positive spiritualists within the LA community, as well as ones that's toxic positivity, spiritual bypassing a lot. Yeah, I've worked alongside people that have made me almost kill myself, quite literally, with toxic positivity.
Oh, yeah, no.
Yeah, that light and love bullshit.
Not a fan.
It can be found in a lot of communities, not just in LA. But again, kind of like I was speaking on with the unhoused, numbers are just higher here. There's millions of people here. And yeah, but there's a lot of positive things about the LA spiritual community. I've met some amazing witches and practitioners and mediums, and damn, have I learned a lot. So there's with everything, the duality, the shadow aspects of it, but a lot of false prophets in Los Angeles, people making house calls for tens of thousands of dollars, which, I'm not here to shame anybody on the price they put for their services, but I hear stories like that sometimes, and I'm just like, wow. And people have budgets for it, and that's they don't even blink at $10,000 for a session. But there's just a lot of stuff, again, a lot of false prophets out there, and a lot of misuse of power, I've learned. But that, again, can be found everywhere. But LA is very magical, and there's a lot of people, and you've just got to have a strong intuition to know who to fuck with and who to not. Again, find out the hard way. And just because someone's a psychic medium or a witch does not mean they cannot be a bad person. I just got to say that. And I've learned that the hard way. I'm preaching to myself. They can have those gifts, but it doesn't mean that they're using them for good.
100%.
That's my biggest disappointment. And I really don't like when people call themselves a shaman and walk up with a big old white sage bundle and they're a white person. I can't stand that. And that happens a lot in LA. And then I just saw, and I'll stop here, but I just saw someone on one of those Eventbrites, in Palm Springs or somewhere in the desert, I don't even want to say it. I feel like a shitty person, but basically they're just renting out teepees to drink in as a shtick to make money. Tickets are astronomical. You don't do that. You don't drink inside of teepees, and it wasn't a native person. I'll just say that. Stuff like that drives me nuts. Or Coachella with people in their, headdresses and shit. Yeah.
I mean, appropriation is appropriation. Whether you're trying to be cute or festive or whatever, just have some respect. That's all I got to say.
Totally. And the Chrissy Teigens that wear, native garb to sexualize women when there's MMIW going on, which by the way, I saw that she got outed for being a bully finally, but those pictures are recirculating about her. But that kind of shit, celebrities, people given a platform and then appropriating such shit, it's very frustrating. And I know that people have attached the, celebrity reader to my name. And I just feel like celebrity culture is different now. And I don't want to shit on any of the celebrities that I work for or have been in the press with. I'm in a positive light. You know what I mean? I'm not talking about those people, but some celebrities are jumping on the bandwagon with this stuff too, to profit off of or appropriate. And people think that's okay. I mean, I could go on and on and on about LA stuff, but again, highlights. There's always light and there's shadow and the things that lurk in between. And I've been disappointed and my heart has been broken, but also I've had the most enlightenment and healing in the LA spiritual community.
I think the heartbreak is just such a natural part of the progression.
It is. And, false prophets have been spoken about in the Bible and they're everywhere. So
do you want to get into some ghosty questions?
Sure.
Okay. So, I hope I'm saying this right. I'm so sorry if I'm not. Lake Vibes or LAK Vibes wants to know, what is your favorite part about being a psychic medium? Is it the ghost, the readings, etc.? Like, what's your favorite part?
It's a great question. I like all of it. You know, as a Gemini, we have a tendency, I'm never bored, I won't say that, but I get distracted. So I like to have different outlets. I don't think of like being a Jill of all trades is necessarily a bad thing. I used to have people say that to me, side note, like growing up, like, you can't be a jack of all trades, or I say Jill of all trades because I don't identify as Jack, but like, I'm like, why not? I have a myriad of things going on, and like ideas and topics and things that I like, you know, hobbies. And anyway, my point is, I like all aspects of it. I really do. As a true Gemini, I am really leaning in towards like my mediumship like readings as of late, because I've done way more tarot readings than I have medium readings. And I think I would like to do more medium readings because I'm really tapped into that. I mean, not that it's not saying I'm not tapped into tarot, which, by the way, you can use tarot cards to talk to spirits. I think I like all of it. I definitely like the fact that you can, if you are protected, grounded, feeling it, have sex with ghosts. That can be really fun. I know we talked about the shadowy parts of it earlier, and it's scary and it's not for everyone, and disregard if you don't believe in it. That's valid. That's cool. Sometimes it doesn't ever enter somebody's life, and what a life that must be. But nonetheless, that's kind of exciting and cool, and just being able to use it to heal, help heal yourself. And then the more people that you do connect with, realizing like, hell, you're not alone. And definitely don't like to use this word, but I feel a lot less crazy. Which, you know, I've never ever fit in, never have felt that I felt fit in, but it's nice to like connect with other mediums and psychics, and I just fucking love it. It's my most favorite thing ever. It's my biggest passion in life. I used to say, when they forced me as a kid, when they're like, what do you want to be when you grow up? I always said a parapsychologist.
I love that. Okay, so another ghosty question from Joylyn Naturals. They want to know, do you feel a ghost present before you see it?
Not always, but mostly. It's always a sense of knowing. It's a great question. You know, my mind went right to this one story. I was in San Diego, in like the historical part of their downtown, which I forget the name of it. I feel so bad. But I was in this hotel, and I was walking to the elevator. I was running late. So of course I was in a hurry, and I saw a man standing there. I can only really count on maybe like 1.5 hands how many times I've seen a spirit that looks like a human right in front of my face, not peripheral or an outline or smoky or whatever. But I didn't have a sense for a minute. It was a spirit. It was wild. It was like my most wild experience. I went to reach for, you know, like the button to press, you know, and I felt they were reaching, and I said, oh, excuse me, sir. And you go ahead, press your button. Like, I had that full interaction, and it was a spirit. And when I went to step in the elevator, I turned around to wait for him to come into the elevator, and he was gone. And I was just like, fucking A. It didn't register until that moment. So I guess to answer it, not always. And those are the sneaky sneaks that come through, which I love, because I'm like, I didn't even feel you. And it took a minute to process that you were. But yeah, mostly it's a knowing. And for a lot of people, it's the knowing aspect of what is clairsentience. I never know how to say that.
Clairsentience.
But yeah.
I would agree.
Like,
yeah, I would fully agree.
Right? Smells, like all kinds. I get a lot of like, all of them are open. Like, I'll be in a session with someone, and then like I can smell them, feel them. A couple times I've channeled the voice of the past loved one. That's spooky. And it's in their homes, usually around their things, which I can't turn that on or off yet in my life. It's just come up before, and it's very spooky. And if there weren't actual witnesses to it and recordings of it, I would probably think I made it up or something, or dreamt about it. But it's never the same every time. And there's certain spirits that come around a lot, and I just know when they're there, if that makes any sense. There's a shitload here right now, by the way. It feels like you and I are on a stage, even though I'm in California, you're in Texas. I feel like we're on a stage in front of a shitload of people.
So I have quite a few that I call them my roommates at this point. But spirits live in my house. So that's always fun.
I love that. Yeah, every house is haunted, but I'm like, it's me, I'm haunted.
Right? Same account wants to know what makes your heart smile the biggest. That's such a sweet question.
Oh my God. No, Joyland Naturals. So sweet. Great skincare, by the way.
Oh, sponsor me. I need skincare.
Yes, so great. I made a witch box with them, two of them.
I
Moon
love
ritual
that.
box. Yeah, we're gonna come out with another one, by the way. Both of them sold out, so they're
Okay, let me know
time-consuming.
before so I can pay for it
Yes.
to make sure I get one.
Oh my God, I will, because they're so good. Anyway, I'll talk to you about that another time. But nonetheless, fuck, what you even asked now? I'll talk about the witch boxes.
Oh, what makes your heart smile the biggest?
Oh, the witch boxes. No, my dog. You know, one of my favorite fucking things to do ever is run downhill with my dog. Oh, I'm gonna cry. I love it because there's this particular hill in my neighborhood, so we'll hike up it, dying, right, just sweating. How do we make it up there? But running down it, it feels like I'm flying. Sometimes I'll fall and it hurts, but I love it. It feels like I'm flying, and I look over at my dog, and we always look at each other at the same time, and we have this big smile on our face, and that's like my most favorite thing on this planet, I think. And yeah, I don't know, it puts a big smile on my face. And of course, my friends. I don't know what the fuck I would do without my friends. This person in particular is a dear friend of mine, so she makes my heart smile.
Oh, good. Okay, I love that. Aw. Shout out to
Joyland Naturals. Yes.
Joyland Naturals. Yes, love that. Natasha Estrada wants to know, how can I attract a large sum of cash? Is there a spell for that? Girl, abundance candles, abundance spray, all the green crystals. That is my advice.
Yeah. And what is happening right now? Do
What
you
is
hear
that?
that sound? I have
Yes.
no idea.
This literally happens like 9 times out of 10 when I'm recording with somebody.
Wow. I have no idea. Anyway, Natasha was talking about abundant. I actually feel like that's a sign for Natasha. Maybe there's a delay or something that's frustrating her, to the point of like wanting to fucking tear your hair out and rip your head off.
Yeah, it's like, where's the block? Because that question was just fully blocked and now it's gone. So that's weird.
Yeah, very strange. So definitely abundance candles. Even when I was like just at my lowest and couldn't muster any energy really to do a full ass ritual, I get money candles, the green ones. I really like Spellbound Sky in LA, but anywhere, you can get them anywhere. And I really do work with cinnamon. I tell people, if you have cinnamon sticks, burn them like incense and use them like incense, and they're very helpful. You can also like boil them like on your stove and sprinkle whatever you feel into it. But cinnamon's like the base, and mugwort usually is very helpful too.
Love mugwort.
Fuck yes, I use it in everything. I'm like every spell, mugwort. Yeah, bay leaves too. I'm like, you can write like money intentions on bay leaves and burn them. You can also, if you have like green birthday candles, you can burn those guys if you don't have like a 7-day window to really, do the spell for a 7-day candle. Some people can do birthday candles or taper candles for a quicker candle magic. But I always just go to candle magic or cinnamon sticks, using your orgasms to manifest. So think money, 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 or set the intention for the orgasm before you have it, even if you're not thinking it in the moment of orgasming. But like, you can set the intention for your orgasm for money. But just knowing that when you do spell work for it, you can get it, but you have to keep up the spell work. But I think, to your point, the block, getting to the root of the block is more effective. And your ancestors have your back. Lately, I've been talking to my ancestors like, okay, I will speak your truth and I will do the work that you couldn't do, and I'll break these generational curses, but please keep a roof over my head. Please keep food in my stomach. Right. Like, how will I keep moving on? You know, I've built up predominantly my client base is in LA. So I got to be here for them. And yeah, so I'm like, keep me here, please, if you can. So talking to your ancestors and asking them for help. Like, if you feel those moments where you're breaking down, they're there. Ask them during that breakdown. I
So
fucking love Natasha, by the way.
I love her too, just because you said that. But that's wild that you said that about the ancestors, because the next question, and I deeply apologize to this person that sent me this. I'm so sorry. When I screenshot all of the questions, it cut off their like username. But this person wants to know how to connect with ancestors. Like, how do you do that?
How do you connect with ancestors? Oh my goodness. So many different ways. You can just talk to them in your mind through telepathy, you know, before anything. And people are like, well, how do you know they're talking back? Well, sometimes you'll hear their voice, quite literally, or sometimes your stream of consciousness will sound like your own voice, and that's them too. They like to speak through songs, just like spirits. If you want to leave, and I want people to know when I say ancestor altars, please do your research. Please know what's your culture and what is for you and your culture, and you're not appropriating when you make ancestor altars, but you can make them altars. You don't have to go all out, leave them offerings, talk to them. Like at dinner, I will leave them a little bit of food and I'll talk to them during dinner. Like, and we eat together. And I don't know if that sounds silly, but I do. But just talking to them, asking for them to come around. They're around and they want to talk a lot of times. And just knowing who you're calling upon. I think it's very important to know your lineage and culture. Don't let anybody strip you of it, you know? Like if that's who you are, study it, do your research. We have Google, for fuck's sake, you know, in our pockets. So do the research on the ancestors that are in your lineage. What are they trying to say? There's not, you know, I always, I have to say this, like when I call upon them too, I always put that word revered ancestors, because Lord knows I don't want to talk to a fucking abusive ancestor or somebody that's still very attached to their ego or telling me to do harm. You know, not all of our ancestors were great, obviously.
It's quality,
but just
not
revered.
quantity.
Thank you. And so calling upon them, but yeah, leaving them offerings, altars, thinking about them when you're eating, just talking to them on a regular basis, thanking them, you know, being grateful to be able to live this life, doing things that they couldn't do, if that's hopeful. But like I said, ancestor altars, yeah, totally research them before you start making those.
Great advice. Okay, last question from Oracle Winchester 1313 or 1313. What do you see coming for summer solstice?
I see a lot of like the sun card in tarot, and just very happy, jovial. There is still this little bit of like a cloud lingering though. And I haven't really tapped a lot into that because I don't want to give it a lot of power. I do feel like at the end of June, that last week of June, there's going to be some sort of announcement in regards to COVID, some major announcement that's going to affect the world. And I don't see that it's necessarily negative, but it's not the most hopeful. And I'm wondering if that has anything to do with what they're announcing on June 1st, which is my birthday, with like them releasing all the documents about aliens. And UFOs. Yeah. Yes. I do feel, and I was like, I don't know how conspiracy theory I'm going to sound, but whatever. And I'm talking about conspiracy theories like aliens, not, you know, satanic baby eating, you know, whatever the fuck, which I do believe some of that stuff, but they lose me at satanic. I'm sorry. I'm just going to say, like, yes, child trafficking happens. That's a legitimate thing that goes on. But why are we always going to throw Satan in it? Because that sounds like satanic panic to me. I'm like missing from the point. But anyway, my point is, I feel like there's going to be some sort of like fake, if you will, and I'm doing air quotations, you can't see, alien invasion. Like they're going to try to a fear tactic with it or something like that. But a lot of us are going to see right through it. It's almost like those killer hornets or some shit, if that makes any sense.
You know, that had like a really brief moment and then it was just like not even a thing. So sorry,
what
Hornet.
Was that?
I don't even know. Honestly, like, it's like you guys were just trying to pile more shit on top of us in the middle of a fucking shit storm. Like, calm down. We don't need murder hornets. We're good.
And I'm sorry I brought that up, but I just feel like that's what the announcement is going to be, that last week of June. Like they keep bringing that up, but overall, I feel like it's the sun card for a lot of us because we are in this new earth and we're going to be able to like be living the lives that we've been manifesting, a lot of us. So yeah, that's what I feel.
Perfect. Because I love that for every single person listening.
Totally. And if you want to have a hot girl summer, awesome. I'm leaning more towards like the healing girl summer with a little sprinkle of hot girl summer.
So my last question is going to be kind of a selfish one. Just on the surface, is there anything coming through for you about me or for me?
Yeah, I actually have my cards next to me. Do you want me to pull you one?
Oh my God. Yes.
I use traditional tarot, and then a lot I use this Native American Oracle deck in corporation with it.
Love that.
But yeah, let's see. First of all, before I pull anything, I definitely feel like you'll be one of the souls that really reap the rewards of this age of Aquarius energy. And I say that to many people because I feel like a lot of people have been doing the work. And when I say that, it's like healing work of any kind on themselves, their spirituality, and their life. I also see you having, again, I haven't pulled a card yet, but I feel like I see like press, getting more press, more coverage. I feel like there are eyes on you, perhaps this podcast, but definitely something creative. I feel like it is something like this, though, unless you're doing another creative endeavor.
Currently,
like
no.
Podcasting.
This has been my, other than my full-time job and being a mom, like this is my other baby.
Spirit, what do you have? Do you have for Kat? Any message? Yeah, I feel like heart chakra upgrades too. I was just pinged to my heart, unless there is someone in the spirit realm that has passed from heart issues. But yeah, I just felt like heart expansions. Oh my God, I got all fire. Yeah, you got the Page of Wands, Two of Wands, Three of Wands. That's amazing. It's all fire. I mean, it's going to be that Leo. That's where I'm going to stop. I was like Leo, Sagittarius, Aries energy. Also new ideas. Again, that makes sense for creation because I always, think of the sacral chakra when I see all this fire. Also, if spirit shows me like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 number sequences, it's usually like these baby steps, if you will. Things, every step is thought out, planned, done in a divine timing. I know I could say that to a lot of people, but it feels that's how you do things. Like me, I'm a little scattered. I usually don't have plans, or I don't know if that makes any sense, but sometimes when they show up like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it's like small baby steps. It's happening. Like you're going through like this. Also, sometimes I see this for dancers and singers, just music in general. They'll show me like sequence of numbers like that. But also I do like the number 2 and 3 because 2 is like balance within and balance in partnerships. And then 3 is the number of the witch and the ascended master's number of like Jesus Christ, like consciousness and protection. And I just like this. It feels good to me. Also, like, yeah, these feelings of being stuck sometimes, like with the 3 of Wands, because like in the 2 of Wands, he's on his balcony, he's holding the world in his hands. He's like, where do I go next? I've got the world in my hands. And with all this creative energy, because it's all this fire, it's all coming from your sacral, which is also sexuality. But yeah, just feeling also pages represent little boys. So having a little boy energy. Yeah. So that energy is here. Also, I do feel a past life connection with your son. Also, like if you do feel like you're ping-ponging in between 2 of Wands, 3 of Wands, it's you feeling more of the world in your hands and I can go anywhere and do anything, or the 3 of Wands, which is like, I'm a little stuck when I look out to my horizon. It's not uncomfortable. It's not, you're not calm. I don't know where my words are, but you're still looking out and you're like, well, where do I go next? I feel a little stuck. But like the 2 of Wands is vastly different. It's more of like, no, I can go anywhere, do anything. But nonetheless, this firepower, this fire energy, I feel like you're harnessing and like honing in more of that, if you will, like in 2021. Because I basically through telepathy just asked spirit to like show me anything, but like, how does 2021 look for you? I also feel like this is saying too, you'll run into like I try not to use the word luck, but we can use it here. But like better luck, especially around moons in fire signs, which aren't we in one right now? That kind of got overlooked because of all the other things going on. Blood, flower, lunar eclipse. And yeah, I think it was Sagittarius. But also saying like, yeah, under those moons, like manifesting things coming to you, new projects. That's also what I feel. Because I'm like, unless you have another project going on, or maybe it's like, you're adding more to your workload when it comes to creative projects and like balancing that. Doesn't make, I don't know if that makes any sense. Also, this is travel. This could be like you're traveling more. Yeah, I just got like 3 cards going on, but there's something here that I feel like there's something new that's coming into the picture. Also, I don't know if there's going to be another pregnancy or something like that, but birth and pregnancy are like words flashing at me.
God, I hope not.
Which doesn't always mean that in divination. It's like spark of creation, especially for like
giving birth to new
projects.
ideas. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So like, I like these cards. Also, there's a lot of yellow, which is solar plexus energy as well. In fact, they're probably bringing me to the lower, I mean, I felt a little heart chakra too. But yeah, bringing me to the lower quadrant of the chakra system. So like aligning those, if you will, or doing more of those meditations. But yeah, lots of white, which is like a blank slate to work with. It's kind of amazing to pull 3 fire cards and in that fashion. It's like something that's almost like the whole birthing process. It's like the Page of Wands, the 2 of Wands, the 3 of Wands. It's like something is birthing. Like, let me see if I can get any dates or any clarity, additional clarity through.
Yeah, I mean, because obviously like this podcast, I started it and then it kind of fell off after like 3 episodes because I just got super depressed and was just not in my best creative mindset. So bringing it back has been a complete process and journey and like a confidence. I don't want to say issue. I don't want to say barrier, but confidence has played a huge part in, I guess, this whole process. So, I mean, obviously, like my goal is to just reach as many people as I can to provide that representation for people like us, or, you know, people that aren't like us that maybe just want a different perspective. Like I would love to be able to provide that. It's just getting the message out there and making people feel comfortable being who they are, recognizing that I'm also meeting them where they're at because I'm giving you in each episode where I'm at, if that makes sense.
And you're deserving of such. It's your energy and you're spreading awareness. And oh my goodness, they gave me the medicine wheel. So this is like, kind of reminds me of the Wheel of Fortune, where it's like you're moving into this more fortunate space. But like, this is talking about the 4 directions. Also, this is like, you know, you're moving, ending cycles. They gave me Sunday, the 27th, which is that last week of June. So I feel like something is being set into motion, maybe perhaps coming full circle, but I feel like it's getting set into motion. They're saying you're protected. And Sunday, the 27th, I also feel like Sundays in general are going to be more of your like luckier days, if you will. Whoa. And then so that says like with honest self-assessment, you can determine the medicine you need in order to achieve well-being. So equilibrium, transformation, completedness, healing, and connection. I love that card. It's a really beautiful card. Also the 4 directions, you know, maybe those directions are calling to you in witchcraft. In fact, I do want to pull from this ritual deck to see if there is some sort of ritual, you know, a remedy or tool or something you can use in 2021.
You're officially spoiling me.
This is like a preview of like how my sessions go, which, you know, I just go with the flow. But yeah, I like that card. And I like, you know, the equilibrium and balance aspect of it. Kind of does feel like it's steps are very important to you.
They are. I'm very, I hate saying the word OCD because I've never been officially diagnosed, but I do have rituals. I feel like every witch has a tendency to have like OCD qualities.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I feel like the way they're showing me, it's like everything is, I don't see it as anything negative. What I was seeing, it was more of like, that's how you get things done. Mm-hmm. Things are happening and they're unfolding, but yeah, it might be baby steps. I like it. It is very thought out. It's like, oh, it's a beautiful energy and it's unforgettable. You know, it's like a one of a kind type of energy for sure. You know, I did pull this ritual card and I got Paramour, which is a bonds of love. It's a classic witch love spell to attract a mate. Are you trying to attract a mate?
No, not currently, but
maybe somebody here listening. I don't know. It says carve your name, a heart, and the symbol of Venus on a pink candle and place on one end of your altar. It's funny they're bringing us back to the candle magic and altars.
And altars, yes.
Yeah, on the opposite end, place a second pink candle carved with a heart and the symbol of Venus. Rub both candles with vanilla, rose, or ylang ylang. Write down what you desire in a mate and place it on the altar. Light the candles and visualize yourself in a thriving partnership. Repeat this rite every night, moving the candles closer, so by the 7th day, they're touching. Burn the letter and let the candles burn down. Hold out a loving cup. Are you ready to accept the energies that appear? You can also do that with your self-love too. That's beautiful. Also, the fact that they brought us back to 7-day spell candles is phenomenal. So also, I feel like somebody listening is going to need that. Also, I just thought of the band Paramore, which...
Yeah, me too.
I might blast some Paramore later. Well, that's what Spirit wanted to say to you. Of course. Thank you for having me. This has been fun.
I'm so grateful. This was such an amazing experience. And please, can we please do a second episode on sex magic? I really want to talk about this. I'm so uneducated.
Yes, for sure. And yeah, just want to say too, as I was putting my cards back up, the 8 of Pentacles fell out, which is fucking amazing. It's prosperity and wealth, 888. Also having money and making more and working and having more, making more and working. It's like a never-ending process, but I like it. It's a good one.
Listen, I'm fine with that. And my birth month is August. That's an 8. So resonate.
Love it. Well, yeah, I can't wait to come back. Thank you for having me. And
absolutely. Plug your stuff. Tell everyone where they can find you if they want to book a reading, if they just want to like see how stunning you are. Whatever.
Oh, thank you. I can be found on Instagram, Brittany Leigh Tarot, and I just send me a DM if you're interested in a reading, and I'll send you my email. That's the only way to book with me is through Book Brittany Leigh. I'll just say it here, bookbrittanyleigh@gmail.com. I will never cold DM you. I've got scammers out there pretending to be me. It's an unfortunate thing that's happening in the spiritual community with profiles with a lot of followers. It's so fucked up, but I will never ever be in your DMs telling you to pay me to get a curse off of you or whatever. It's only through that email. So yeah, Brittany Leigh Tarot is the only way to find me right now on Instagram. And yeah, DM me. I'll DM you back if I can. And if not, shoot me that email. And that's the only way to book. That's all I got.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This was like a dream interview. Honestly.
Oh my God, you're so sweet. Thank you for having me.
I can't wait for next episode. Just throwing that out there. We're going to manifest this. Guys, stay tuned. Brittany's amazing. Book with her. Love her. Obsessed. Biggest fan. All the things.
You are amazing too, Kat. And again, thank you so much for just sharing parts of you with me too.
That is what I'm here for.
Thank you for listening to the Bewitching Hour podcast. Again, I'm your host, Kat, and you can follow me on Instagram at Kat Alexander with 2 R's. You can follow the Bewitching Hour's Instagram at Bewitching Podcast. And please, don't forget to rate me 5 stars and leave a nice review. In perfect love and perfect trust, until next time.
She was just a wish. She was just a wish. And a memory is all that is left of her now. Lightning